there was a credible, very, very credible threat of Mossad assassinating one or perhaps two or perhaps the whole Iranian delegation going to Switzerland. As we all know, the only thing apart from killing women and children that the death cult in West Asia is specialized in is in assassinating political leaderships. So this information is very, very important. It was intercepted by Pakistani intelligence, and the information to us comes directly from somebody at the table. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Transition Protocol. Today is Friday, June 19th, a very, very special date, at least so far or until a day ago, because we would have had the official signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between the United States and Iran in Switzerland. Well, it did not happen. And we're here to explain to you why. So that's why this is a very special last minute edition of Transition Protocol. I am with my dear friend, Mr. Z in California. But unfortunately, we are not with our dear friend Larry because we were in touch with Larry during the day, but apparently he's very busy with a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, he won't be able to join us. But don't forget that Larry has his own solo show on Transition Protocol every Monday. And on Wednesday, we have the show, the three of us together, Mr. Z, Larry, and I. So that continues. But today is Friday, and today is about the MOU and the real story behind the MOU. The real story behind Versailles, not very far from where I am. And of course, another direct interference in the MOU by that death cult in West Asia, which runs the risk of derailing the whole edifice that was painstakingly built by the Iranians, by the Pakistanis as mediators, by China in the background, by contributions from Qatar, from Turkey, from Saudi Arabia, from most of the GCC. And this may collapse within the next 48 to 72 hours. And the Iranians already sent a direct message to Washington that if the shenanigans of the death cult in West Asia continue, the whole edifice of the MOU will collapse. So let's go to the first part, which is essentially why Donald Trump signed the American, I wouldn't say the American version, but at least the American mirror images of the MOU in Versailles. By the way, very significant because don't forget that the Germans in 1918, they signed their capitulation at the end of World War One in the Palace of Versailles as well. So history, of course, they are having a second or a third laugh about all that. Very, very important. This is not a routine ceasefire story. That's the most important thing. This goes way beyond the mechanism of the MOU. The signing in Versailles was, I would say, a second best compared to a live signing in Geneva. Very, very simple. We broke the news here on Transition Protocol earlier this week. There was a credible, very, very credible threat of Mossad assassinating one or perhaps two or perhaps the whole Iranian delegation going to Switzerland. As we all know, the only thing apart from killing women and children that the death cult in West Asia is specialized in is in assassinating political leaderships. So this information is very, very important. It was intercepted by Pakistani intelligence. And the information to us comes directly from somebody at the table, not only in Islamabad, but he was at the possible table in Switzerland already. But as we all know by now, Switzerland is not going to happen. So The Iranians sent another message after this, after Pakistani intel and confirmation with Iranian intel, and of course, intel in the background reconfirming all that, this credible Mossad threat of another mass assassination. Iran sent another message via Pakistan once again to Washington that if they don't rein in their aircraft carrier in West Asia, their genocidal aircraft carrier in West Asia, the entire framework of the MOU will collapse. And this means everything that is being discussed about the Strait of Hormuz, the ceasefire itself, to start with, the ceasefire is not being respected by Israel because Israel continues to bomb southern Lebanon. All the regional rearrangement and even the nuclear issue, everything will collapse. And Iran has made it very, very, very clear. If Israel does not stop, they are prepared to inflict severe consequences on Israel. And if the United States decides to intervene supporting Israel, this means that the whole MOU collapses because this will be multiple breaches of the MOU. And don't forget that the MOU is bilateral. If one side breaks it, the other side has every reason to break it as well. And this is something that the Americans still have not understood. They were used to deal with Iran by imposing maximum pressure unilaterally and breaking any commitments unilaterally. Now, with the actual strategic defeat inflicted by Iran on the US and the way the MOU is formulated, the responsibilities are divided. This is bilateral. One side breaks it, the other side has every reason to break it or break it even more. And that's what the Iranians have been saying to the Americans over and over again. If you attack us, we will attack 1.5 or even 2 times harder. That was before the MOU. Now is if you break the MOU, we'll break the MOU ourselves, and it's going to be much harsher, including your ally in West Asia. So this is very, very serious because obviously the descot in West Asia, they had their chance to collapse Switzerland, and they did. They collapsed it completely. This Iranian signature, very, very important. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei delegated the signing to the Supreme National Security Council, which includes President Pezeshkian. Yesterday, there was a communique by leader Mojtaba essentially saying that thanks to the persuasion of President Pezeshkian, convincing him that Iran should sign the MOU, the leader Mojtaba relented because originally he was not in favor of signing anything because the Americans are, by definition, untrustworthy. This is something that we already knew even before Mojtaba became supreme leader, when the leader was still assassinated, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. And in the first few weeks of Mojtaba, the echoes that were coming out of his extremely protected environment in Tehran, everything analog, communications only face to face or via handwriting, via a trusted couriers. Mojtaba was deeply skeptical of anything that would be agreed or agreed between commas, which is what we have at the moment with the US. But Pezeshkian managed to convince the leader that, okay, it's in our own interest. And of course, Pezeshkian used everything that he discussed with the Pakistani mediators, and of course, what China in the background has been discussed, not only with Pakistan and not only with Iran, but via the Pakistani mediators to Iran, several channels of communication. So the Iranians finally decided to, and the moment, let's say the past 24 hours or so, that they decided to sign, we know that Switzerland was already compromised. So there won't be a side by side American Iranian signing of the MOU. Is the MOU dead on arrival? That's a very, very strong possibility. All of us, independent analysts, and everybody all across the region, including the GCC petromonarchies, they want the MOU to give it a chance. Will it have a chance? It depends on only one factor. If Israel continues to bomb Iran within the next 48 to 72 hours, there is another ultimatum delivered by the Pakistanis to the White House from Iran. And this, of course, comes from the top, comes not only from Pezeshkian, comes from Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei himself. Then the deal is off, which, by the way, is not a deal. The entire MOU collapses. So Donald Trump has a choice this weekend. He can pick up the phone and tell the Israelis, back off for good, because this is my deal. And this is the way he's been selling it to domestic public opinion. Although, of course, 3 seconds later, the narrative changes. Okay, we're going to wait for 2 months. It's too long. If it doesn't work, I'm going to bomb them all over again. Does anybody pay attention to what he says? Not anymore. People wait for the facts. At the moment, facts on the table spell out, okay, there is an MOU signed by both parties. Is it going to survive? We're going to see throughout this weekend, and we're going to have a clear answer on Monday. Mr. Z, take it away.
Well, you laid out a very good foundation. And the things that I wish to add to this foundation are the following. We have been very privileged to have very reliable people who are at the table, provide us information that they believe the world must know. And this information is not available, as far as we know, to anybody. And it comes to us because these people are at the table. They are physically at the table. And that information totally supports everything that you just said. And what that is that Iran has decided with its new leadership that very significantly includes the supreme leader, Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei, uh, President Pezeshkian, the leader of the Majlis, very, very significant leader. And that is that Iran is not going to be pushed around. Item number one, Iran is capable, very, very capable of restarting its nuclear program. This is something that has not been mentioned. This is something that we mentioned previously, and now we can reconfirm that
Mhm.
if the United States is going to push Iran back to the wall through its death cult in West Asia, Israel, by engaging in acts that are clearly not approved by Iran in the MOU, which is the bombing of Lebanon or any such activity. Iran will abandon the MOU,
Absolutely.
not withdraw, just abandon it.
That's why this is so important, because they have been sending messages virtually every day to the American leadership that, okay, once we sign the MOU, that's it. It's bilateral. Like I said, endless times, and we need to repeat it. From now on, if you break on the other side, we break on our side as well. And then, of course, the whole thing will collapse. And that's why this is so important, because it's obvious, not only by their acts, the bombing that continues in South Lebanon and in Dahiyeh, and what those lunatics in positions of power, including that absolutely ghastly Minister of Defense, have been saying. They will continue to do what they're doing, bombing. So they are literally blowing up the MOU in face of the whole planet. Iran doesn't need to do anything. They just need to show the images to the whole planet. Look, the Americans signed the MOU. We signed the MOU. Look what the Israelis are doing, and Lebanon is part of the MOU. Draw your own conclusions. The whole planet is already drawing their own conclusions. And that's why this is so distressing for everyone, because we knew from the beginning that these people would do everything to blow up this agreement, not deal. Agreement means they decided to at least sit down the same table to discuss. First 30 days and then 60 days. And then probably in these 90 days, they will manage to find solutions to most of the 14 points. Okay, we're being very optimistic, of course, but with the possibility of extending it. But at least this is, just a glimpse of the possibility of a dialogue. And not even that is accepted by the death cult. So that's where we are.
It is very significant that we provide this information to everyone, which is the reason why we have it in the first place. This is not something that is available to what we have known in the past as legacy media, and it is very credible. Everything we have said on this channel has been credible and proven to be accurate. So the accurate information is that Pakistan is not an intermediary in the general sense of passing messages from one place to the other. Pakistan has been elevated by Iran and supported in this elevation by Trump and the United States to a role that is much more significant in terms of a intermediary that communicates what is called a threat in our language, which is that we expect you to behave, we expect you to follow the MOU. You don't, we are not going to wait for you. We are going to go further back and show you that you do not even have the ability to use the nuclear program as a leverage because we would have already done that. That is the main point.
Mm-hmm.
Point number two, Strait of Hormuz gets closed permanently until we are satisfied to reopen it.
And at the
The,
moment,
in,
it's closed.
yes, and the entire world commerce comes to a screeching halt. So Iran is elevating itself through its posture, through its actions, through its relationship with Pakistan, backed by China and supported by Russia, into a position of great strength that did not exist before United States and Israel started bombing and decapitating Iran.
And
So
that's
it
the
has
problem.
emerged.
That's the problem, Mr. Z, because not only the Trump administration, but especially the people who run the show in the US, for them, this is anathema. They will always refuse to understand that the chessboard is a completely different chessboard now. So expect self recrimination, expect bouts of hysteria, which is exactly what's happening all across the industrial military complex, the Beltway, the connection with New Jersey, New York, etc. And it's impossible for them to recognize the new rules of the game and the fact that they have no leverage. And the fact
Zero leverage.
if they
Zero
lose,
leverage.
if they lose the MOU, they are left with less than nothing. Literally. What are they going to do? They're going to restart the war next week. They're going to start bombing Iran next week. Iran is ready. They already said, "Oh yeah, you want to restart it? We're here. We're ready. We have our finger on the trigger." By the way, as they had the finger on the trigger last weekend, and they had the finger on the trigger now, yesterday, and they will have their finger on the trigger during the weekend if Israel doesn't stop bombing Lebanon. So this is not a problem for Iran, for the leadership, for the leader Moshtaba himself, who never wanted to sign anything in the first place. By the way, he was. It's quite ironic, in a sense, that he was finally convinced by the president of Iran, because it was Pezeshkian who made that famous phone call to Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, talking about a possible North Korea scenario if the Americans kept going over the threshold. Apparently, this was understood in Washington. What they still don't understand is that if they don't rein in the death cult in West Asia, the deal that they signed vanishes completely. And this is what Iran and Pakistan are trying to make it very, very clear to the Trump administration. For the moment, there are no signs that they actually understood the message.
Excellent, excellent, excellent analysis, Pepe. And this is the reason you are here. This is exactly what happened, and we are privileged to know this. We are privileged to know this because somebody trusts us.
There's one thing, Mr. Z, I would like to reconfirm with you that the Mossad plot to assassinate one or two or maybe the entire Iranian delegation in Switzerland, which was the original source of this information. You don't have to get into details.
My source said that this information was intercepted by Pakistani intelligence,
Mhm.
10,000 strong, incidentally, world reputation for being competent, and and that caused a pause. Once that information was received, it was relayed to the Iranians, and
Immediately,
there
of
was a
course,
pause.
immediately. Yes.
Yeah, there was a pause, and they were unable to completely neutralize it.
Hmm.
That was one of the reasons why Iran decided, no, we're not going to go there. They
Not
did
to send
send,
a delegation to
yeah,
Switzerland.
they did send, yeah, lower level staff.
There were already lower level representatives in Switzerland.
Correct,
Sure.
correct, correct. And then on top of that, when the bombing continued, there was a decision made, communicated very clearly by the Pakistanis because it came directly from the speaker of the Majlis to Pakistan, saying we we are going to sign here, but we expect you to restrain Israel as condition number one, and we will wait until Monday, a
Exactly.
specific day.
Hmm.
You fail to do that, Tuesday we attack Israel, and we proceed to take away the nuclear card from you by engaging in the development of capabilities that mirror what North Korea has. So it is very, very clear, and this message was directly communicated by the Pakistanis to the Americans, and especially emphasized to JD Vance.
Hmm. Well, it is an enormous bombshell, and it's the second time. Will they understand it? Finally, all bets are off now at the moment.
Well, through you, we now communicate this to the rest of the world that this is the undercurrent of what is going on right now in West Asia, and why Mr. Trump finds himself unable to move,
Hmm.
literally unable to move. According to our source, we have been told that they characterize Mr. Trump as a caged animal to the Iranians, convincing the Iranians that there is a possibility that this arrangement, the MOU, will work. And the Iranians said, okay, let's give it a chance. So here we are. We are giving it a chance, and we hope that United States has the ability to restrain Israel and follow through. And if it does, then commerce will continue through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran is very capable of keeping it open or shutting it down.
Absolutely. So it's crazy because one day after another, we keep getting deeper and deeper into the dark pit, aren't we? When we see a glimmer of hope, which was the during throughout the week, there were glimmers of hope. Okay, if they sign on Switzerland on Friday, maybe this is the beginning of something new. No, it's not. The threats, and we all know where the threats come from, remain, and they have to be dealt with. And we all know there's only one way to teach a lesson to these people, and it has to be the hard way. And Iran is fully aware of that,
Well, the end result of all this, Pepe, is that the world has changed.
of course.
The
But they
world
still
is
don't.
no longer the same as it was before Israel and the United States made the very, very stupid decision of attacking Iran. The world has completely changed.
And obviously, they are incapable of dealing with their self inflicted strategic defeat. We don't have a Talleyrand, we don't have a Bismarck in Washington. On the contrary, we have grifters, we have mediocrities, we have people who have no clue whatsoever about the big game geopolitics. So that's why they are. That's where they are now, and that's why they are a zillion miles an hour on a dead end street. Literally.
Very true. You could not have put it better than what you just did. A zillion miles an hour going against the tide and on a dead end street, and will definitely run into a hard obstacle if they don't stop.
Okay, Mr. Z, shall we wrap it up because it's better
Yes,
when it's short,
yes,
quick, and sharp,
yes,
like we did
yes. I agree,
it.
and I
And
and I
leave
thank you very much
no, and leave
for
our
taking the time to
viewers
come here.
with that ringing in their head, and they're gonna make their own judgment about this information.
Well, thank you very much. This is Transition Protocol being brought to you at a very special time because this is a very special day. And I am grateful that my friend Pepe decided to join me in broadcasting this information to the world from Paris. Thank you so much. And we will be
Thanks very
back
much.
on Monday with Larry.
Thanks very much, Mr. Z. Thanks, all of you. Now back to Transition Protocol, all of you. Cheers. See you
Bye
next
bye.
week.
Just stay for a second while this record.